Good evening. My name is Mark Nozell, and I'll be the moderator this evening. Can everyone please rise and let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So I'd like to call the meeting to order this evening. Just some housekeeping stuff before we get really started. Registered voters should all have 2 pieces of paper, a blue one for voting, and then your ballot, which we can use later. If you don't have one, please go check in. Please hold off casting your ballots for these until we get to the second article, but you'll be depositing into one of those buckets over there, and I'll count them at the end. Typically, we keep the ballots open for 2 hours. That's to allow people who have sent in absentee ballots, if they see us on TV or they come in last moment and they want to make a change. However, we did not receive any absentee ballots, so we don't have to keep the ballots open for 2 hours. When we get to the end of the meeting, as it naturally occurs, we'll close off the meeting. So, for each of the articles, which you can have a copy here, I'm going to be reading through the description of the article, and then I'm looking for someone to make a motion and for a second. Typically, it's one of these folks up here. At that point, if you would like to discuss the article, please come to this microphone over here. I'll acknowledge you, and then you can make your statement, or you can make your modifications, amendment to it. Then we'll have a vote on the amendment, if appropriate, and then we'll move on to do a vote for the entire article. If you do have an amendment that's long, please write it out. Just hand it to me, and I'll make sure it's recorded properly. The way we're going to do the voting is first I'll say all those in favor, and then you can raise your little MVD card. I'll do a count. Those against, hold it up if you're against, and I'll do a count for that. Once we've gone through all 7 articles here, I'll be going and doing a counting of the ballots and get the results for that. Once they've been double checked, I'll announce it here. Some reminders for the evening. Please put your phones on mute. Please be polite and respectful for others. And that's pretty much it. I'd like to recognize Don Provencher, our chairman. Don?
Thanks, Mark. Just going to introduce the MVD commissioners and other associates here. To my left is Commissioner Erin Clement. To her left is our attorney, Carrie Roman, and to my far left is the finance director, Kristen Marr. To my right is Vice Chair Commissioner Ken Ayers. To his right, Commissioner Scott Sabins. And to my far right is Superintendent Ron Miner. And I'm Don Provencher, the chair of MVD Board of Commissioners. Thanks.
Thanks.
Yeah, I wanted to, thanks for reminding me. We have Commissioner Wolf Von Schaun, who cannot make it tonight. He got stranded overseas, and he texted me to read this. So he said that he regrets to inform the voters, customers, commissioners, and MVD staff for the unexpectedly not being able to attend the annual meeting due to redirected air traffic and a family need overseas. He got caught up in that thing at the airport in England with the power outage. So I guess he's in Chicago now, but he just didn't have a chance to make it to this meeting, unfortunately. So he apologizes for that, but it's kind of out of his control.
Okay, great, thank you. So let's get started. I shall read the Article 1, and that's to choose one commissioner for a 3-year term for the office. And you can look on your official ballot. There's one person who's named. Of course, you're free to write in anyone else instead. Article 2 is to choose one commissioner to fill 1 year of an existing 3-year term for office. Again, there is one person whose name is on the ballot, and you're free to write in as well. Article 3, to see if the Merrimack Village District will raise and appropriate the sum of $6,538,953 for general municipal operations for 2025-2026 fiscal year, with said sum to come from water-related charges. This article does not include appropriations contained in special or individual articles addressed separately. Majority vote is required, and it's recommended by the Board of Commissioners 5-0-0. Do I have a motion? Scott?
Second.
Thank you. If anyone would like to make a comment, oh, I'm sorry, can you describe?
Is this on? No. It's on? Okay. All right, so this is the operating budget warrant article. The article funds the operations of the district for the year beginning July 1st in 2025, ending June 30th of 2026 for all departments, administration, distribution, treatment, debt services, and insurance and benefits.
Thank you. Now, any comments from the audience? Seeing none, I'll move on to Article 4. Shall the Merrimack Village District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $68,400? Oh, I'm sorry. You are correct. I need to vote now, don't I? Threw me off, so thank you very much, Margie. So now we shall vote. If you're in favor of this, please raise your MVD thing. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. Article passed. Now I shall move on to Article 4. Shall the Merrimack Village District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $68,490 under provisions of RSA 35:1, sections 1 and 2, and add to the district's System Development Capital Reserve Fund for future system expansion and improvement of existing systems. This sum is to come from the System Development Revenue Fund. These are the system development charges collected during the 2023-2024 budget year. Majority vote is required, and it's also recommended by the Board of Commissioners 5-0-0. Looking for a motion?
So moved.
Thanks, Don.
Seconded.
Thank you.
The MVD Board of Commissioners adopted a System Development Charge, SDC, on August 19, 2008. This charge is applied to new customers and those existing customers who increase their water service demand beyond 20% of their current or prior use. The charge can be described as a buy-in fee to achieve an equal equity position in the existing customers. This one-time payment will cover their share of the value of the existing infrastructure. Fire service entrances are not subject to the SDC. The System Development Charge Use of Funds Policy 08-02-B was approved by the Board of Commissioners on October 27, 2008. These funds can be used for water system expansion caused by an increase in demand for service, increase in consumption, and the overall need for a supply increase necessary to meet the goals of the district.
Thank you. If anyone has questions, please come up to the microphone, comments or amendments.
No amendment.
Name and
Oh, I'm
address,
sorry.
please.
Wendy Thomas, Wildcat Falls Road in Merrimack. And I think it might have been at Article 4, but last year there was a discussion about how much was being saved and put aside for improvements and sort of reacting to catastrophic weather conditions and that kind of stuff. Do you have an idea of how much was spent over the last year on those kinds of projects?
I'll leave that one to Kristen Marr, Finance Director.
Ooh, very loud. So for infrastructure improvements, we have not really done a lot in terms of improvements, mainly for the mere fact we have just finished the building of the last of the 3 treatment plants. I did include, excuse me, our trust activity in this year's annual report, along with our capital improvements plan, or CIP, to show that we are looking for a new water sources on our horizon right now, due to new construction and people moving into Merrimack and its growth. We are also looking at the age of some of our mainline pipes. So that is on our near future to basically expend some of the money from our trusts.
Okay, and when you say you're looking for new water, does that mean new wells? You're going to do, okay. All right, there's not a problem, I just wanted to,
Yep.
This is just a leftover from last year. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Seeing none, let's move on.
Vote.
For voting. Let me finish the sentence, please. Let's move on to voting. All those in favor, raise your card. Thank you. All those opposed? Thank you. The motion has passed. Moving on to Article 5 now. Shall the Merrimack Village District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $800,000 under provisions of RSA 35:1, Sections 1 and 2, to add to the district's Equipment and Facilities Capital Reserve Fund for associated costs with existing storage, transmission, and production of water. This sum to come from unassigned fund balance. Majority vote is required. It's recommended by the Board of Commissioners 3-0. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Great.
All right, so the purpose of this article is to use a portion of the revenue surplus to be set aside for the future, for future use in the district's Equipment and Facilities Capital Reserve Fund. This allows the district to plan for future capital needs as outlined in the district's capital improvement plan. Additionally, should an emergency arise in future years for which there was no appropriation, the Board of Commissioners would have these funds available for such purposes. This fund was established by the March 26, 1996 annual meeting.
Thank you. If there is any questions or amendments, please move to the microphone. And your name and address, please.
Juanita Dangle, 17 Westminster Lane, Merrimack. Unassigned fund balance, is that the excess money that did not get used? I see it's here and it's in Article 6.
That is correct. It's called unassigned fund balance. It's basically all of our assets minus our liabilities equals what's left over, and then we can divvy that out based on certain needs. Like we can assign certain amounts. For instance, one that would be assigned would be that system development. That money can only be used towards system development items.
Okay. So that's a total of 800 plus 200. That means that you have, what, $1 million this year that you collected that is unassigned.
Correct.
Thank you.
Any other additional comments or amendments? Hearing none, let's move on to the voting stage. All those that are in favor of Article 5, please raise your blue. Thank you. All those that are opposed? Thank you. The motion has passed. Moving on to Article 6. Shall the Merrimack Village District vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $200,000 under provisions of RSA 35:1, Sections 1 and 2, to add to the district's purchase of water and/or operations and maintenance of GAC treatment facilities, non-capital fund reserve fund for associated costs with the purchase and/or treatment of water. This sum to come from unassigned fund balance. A majority vote is required. Recommended by the Board of Commissioners, 5-0. Anyone want to make that motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Aaron.
Seconded.
Thank you.
The purpose of this article is to use a portion of the revenue surplus to be set aside for future use in the district's purchase of water and/or the operation and maintenance of the GAC treatment facilities, non-capital reserve fund. Should an emergency arise in the future for which there was no appropriation, or should there be a need for an unforeseen additional water purchase or treatment costs, for example, the Board of Commissioners would have these funds available for such purposes. This fund was established by warrant Article 6 at the March 2021 annual meeting.
Thank you. Again, if anyone has a comment or an amendment they would like to propose, please go to the microphone. Seeing none, let's move on to the voting phase. All those that are in favor of this amendment or article, please raise their blue cards. Thank you. And all those opposed. Thank you. The article has passed. I would just like to remind everyone that the ballots are open, so folks can mark their ballots and put it in there. Either one, doesn't matter. We're coming up to Article 7, and I think that's probably, so Article 7, transact any other business, and then we'll close it after I've counted the thing. So, any other business?
Wendy Thomas again, and again, this is just an informational question. Is MVD receiving any federal money from the infrastructure bill? Are they receiving any state money for the water, from the Water Council? And what is the, is there any update on money that we're getting from St. Gobain? So are we getting anything into us?
I can speak to the St. Gobain part.
In terms of future federal or state grants, due to the projects we just finished, we haven't gotten any more for infrastructure. We have gotten more for other projects that we are working on, but I don't believe they are part of the infrastructure federal grants.
Okay.
So there are two potentially future pots of money for the district. One is that, as you probably have heard, many water districts and states in the country settled lawsuits against 3M and DuPont, as well as Tyco and BANF, right? BASF. That money all went to the state of New Hampshire, and they are currently working on program rules, regulations on how that money will be distributed. It's our understanding that we will get some of that money, but that's not a certainty yet. It hasn't been fully decided, but that's that aspect of it.
And what is the process for that? Do you apply for it, or is it just, do they decide for us?
Do we know that yet?
I believe we need to apply for it, but I'm
Okay.
not positive on that.
Okay,
It's still unfolding.
sure. Okay, no, thank you.
And then there's our lawsuit against St. Cobain and TCI, which is pending right now. And the update for you at the moment is that we're doing two things at the moment in that lawsuit, is that St. Cobain and TCI have, and this is part of the process, they've named up to 25 or to 30 additional parties that they claim share responsibility for the contamination, and we have to ferret out whether or not there's any truth to that, or whether we believe it's primarily with St. Cobain and TCI. So we're working through that process right now. That should be resolved fairly soon. We'll have answers to that. And then we're also in the middle of litigation discovery. So we have sent out requests for documents to both St. Cobain and TCI, and we've sent interrogatories, which are questions that they are obligated to answer under oath. And those are expected, the deadline for that return is the beginning of May, that we'll receive those back. We also did a right-to-know request to DES for everything TCI. We were lacking in some of the background information on that, and we got a dump of information, thousands and thousands of documents, which our litigation counsel, which is not hourly, they only get paid if we prevail. They are reviewing that right now, so that's where we are with the
Excellent.
litigations.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions, comments? Is there anything you want to?
Yeah, first I'd like to motion to restrict reconsideration
And all articles?
of all articles previously discussed.
Is there a second?
Second?
In case you haven't heard, it's to prevent reconsideration of any of these things that we just voted on. Now it's time to vote on that. All those in favor of eliminating? Thank you. All those opposed? Seeing none, that also passed. Again, reminder, the ballots are open. I'll be keeping it open 15 minutes. I see the second person is going to vote. I encourage everyone to vote. That's signed in.
As we step up to the voting ballot box, I would like to recognize Commissioner Ken Ayers for 6 years of service as Commissioner of MVD. And he is leaving his position after tonight's meeting, so this is it for Kenny. And as a token of our appreciation, we have presented him with this plaque. Presented to Ken Ayers, 2025, 6 years of service as Commissioner for Merrimack Village District. And I'd like to thank you on behalf of the board and the staff for your time and effort in these 6 years. And congratulations, and we really appreciate everything you've done. And a little memento for you to have to reflect back upon your awesome time on the board. We appreciate it.
So I'll leave the voting box open until 7:35, a little over 10 minutes. So we have results for the voting. For Article 1, which is a commissioner of a 3-year term, Dan Allen was the only one who was on the ballot. 23 votes for him. He wins. Congratulations. For Article 2, commissioner for a 1-year term, Scott Sabin got 18 votes. Dan Allen, ironically, got 1 vote, and Bob LaRue got 2 votes. So congratulations to Scott. With that completed, I would like a motion to adjourn. Thank you. Second? Sure. And meeting is closed. Thank you very much.